Hey guys, great to see everyone. Let me say hello to the early birds. I've got Brad, John, Karen. Great to see you guys. We're going to have a good time tonight. First of all, let me bring something up about this show, just in case there's some new viewers, and there are, because I'm on a new Facebook group tonight. The way I'm trying to grow the show is to get the show out to some more Facebook groups so you guys can all join in and all participate in what's going to be a growing fun time. So that's what the idea of the show is. The topics of the show are obviously aliens, alien abductions. We talked about remote viewing. We talked about flat earthers, and we've also talked about the fact that some people think we didn't go to the moon or land on the moon. Now, let me tell you, let me get into something quickly, and then we're going to have a caller tonight. We actually may have a couple callers. We may have a bunch of callers tonight, which will be super cool. But let me talk about this. So I was monitoring the web, and there was someone out there. I'm not going to mention any names at all. But it's a female, and she put up this thing. She says, I brought up the UFO/alien topic last night with a guy I'm dating, and he looked at me like I was crazy. And I wasn't even saying I believe, just trying to get his take on the matter. At first, he wouldn't even respond, and I didn't expect him to, but he was closed-minded. Now, let me say something about the show here and about people with different perspectives. People have different perspectives on life. People have different perspectives on death. They have different perspectives about flat earth versus round earth. Different perspectives about everything, religion, politics. Everything is so diverse out there, and that's actually a good thing. But let me just say something. Whether you believe in aliens or whether you believe aliens have landed on Earth, if you believe aliens are among us, some people have been abducted. And who's to say that that hasn't happened to everyone who is saying their story? Who's to say that? I mean, when you think about religion, some people believe completely in religion. Some people say, you know what, I haven't actually seen God in front of me, taking me by the hand and working a miracle where I see something incredible happen right in front of me. So there are different perspectives. Why be judgmental? Because someone saw something and you didn't, doesn't mean that it didn't actually happen. So why be judgmental about it? Just be open-minded about it and consider the fact that something you have not witnessed doesn't mean just because you haven't witnessed it that it hasn't happened. Now, I'm going to get to a caller in a second. We're going to talk about aliens today. Now, we're going to talk about it from a very different perspective. We're going to talk about it with this gentleman, Raven, who's going to call in. And we are going to talk about the fact that he wasn't abducted by aliens. He was invited to participate with aliens. That's a little bit different than being abducted by aliens. So I want to get his take on it. And in parallel, I think we're going to have someone to call up who's going to talk about the fact that he was abducted by aliens. And I want to know the difference. I want to know if both perspectives, the aliens that abducted versus the aliens that invited, are different aliens, and I want to understand what their feel for us is. I want to understand that a little more thoroughly. And we are going to today on the Dave Naron Show. Now, if you want to call in, it's 609-467-4000, 609-467-4000. Hopefully, we're going to get Raven to call in, and I've got to tell him when, so I should say now. So we got him standing by. We got him ready to rock and roll. And that's what we're going to do tonight. Welcome. Let's see who else joined here while we're waiting for Raven to join in. We've got Brad. I've seen some strange beep in my lifetime. I've seen, now before Raven comes in, I will tell you, I believe that there's life out there on other planets. And I believe that there's life out there that's more advanced than us. And I will tell you why. Well, we had the Big Bang. And did you guys watch the final episode of the Big Bang Theory? I did. It was a cool thing to see. I got my call coming in here. So let me grab him. Hi there, this is Dave Naron. How are you?
Hello?
Hello, is this Raven?
Yes, this is Raven. How may I help you, sir? How are you doing tonight?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good. You got to shut the radio off and back. Just like when Art Bell used to have the callers on, you got to shut the radio off. in the back. Okay?
All right, I'm on. I got ear set.
Okay, well, let's see. Now it's better. You did something, so now it's working. You worked a miracle of technology, and now I'm not getting feedback. Okay, so let me, Raven, before you talk, and I'm going to introduce you in a second, but let me finish my thought pattern here. When I actually do believe that there's extraterrestrial, intelligent life out there on other planets, and the way I think about it, I said the Big Bang Theory. You know, when you think about the Big Bang Theory, it started in one location. I kind of believe in the Big Bang Theory, by the way. Started in one, whether you think it's a tiny little microscopic thing or something, a handball size or whatever, and expanded out after the Big Bang occurred. So if you were on that first wave of creation via the Big Bang, and everything's getting pushed out, that first thing is the oldest. Everything else that comes after that first initial wave is a younger wave of life. So now I don't believe that we were born. I don't think anyone thinks that we were the Big Bang occurred, and then suddenly planet Earth is there. We were somewhat out there at a younger being rather than the first forming of life after the Big Bang. So everything that's out there further is older than us, and when it's older, it does have the opportunity to have developed beyond the younger creations. So that's why I do believe that there's extraterrestrial life out there, and I believe that a great deal of it could be a lot more advanced than us. Of course, some of it might not be as advanced as us, but I believe that some of it could be overwhelmingly more advanced than us. And now, do I believe that UFOs have landed on Earth or are here? It's something that I've never seen a UFO, by the way, and UFO stands for unidentified flying object. It doesn't stand for AFO, alien flying object. So be open-minded about everything that we talk about on this show. And now we're going to introduce Raven. Raven, how's it going? Great to have you on the show, by the way.
Thank you very much. I love your introduction about the Big Bang Theory, and Earth was once a part of if you saw a lot of history points or texts about Earth and the Big Bang Theory, Earth was known as a planet like Planet X, and it exploded into millions of pieces if you go with the Big Bang Theory. I did a lot of studying growing up because of what happened to me and what I saw. And then as a young kid back in '93, me and my friends, we were having fun late at night by his house, and we looked up above the house, and there was an explosion, and it was like a cluster of lights. And ended up, I dropped down to my knees, and I felt this pressure, and it was just something I couldn't shake. And many experiences seeing UFOs, I've been through seeing them, and it is that my experience is a lot different than all the research there is. And I haven't told anybody. I've been trying to get my story out there, trying to tell people different. And a lot of people didn't give me the opportunity to express my side of the story and how I felt about extraterrestrials, UFOs. And in '05, two beings came to me. I don't know if I was dreaming or not, but they approached me and told me to come follow them. And there's the smoke clouds and everything by where I was staying at, and it was my parents' house. And when I left, and I saw this doorway, and it completed like a craft or a pyramid shape that was all black, and there was electrifying lights all around it, like almost you look at a pyramid that's made out of like something you see out of sci-fi, but you see little lights running through back and forth. You can feel the electric just running through it, through the hairs of your body. And you invited me on what to be almost like a class, but when I got in there, it was like a laboratory. And from what I saw, they showed me a wall filled of monitors. And it's like a laboratory, like a station. And there was a blonde-haired, blue eyes, about 6 foot. I'm 5'6", so they're taller than me. They were wearing all white and had gold trimmings. And the female had had a triangle atop of the belt, and it was made out of gold, and it was pointed downward, and the metal was pointing up. It was very friendly, and they told me to observe the things I see and remember the things I see for things to change how I see my perception in things. And so, yeah, as I got on, it looked like a scene, like if you ever seen how dimensions work, things like that, but in a dream state, it showed a link of all of reality to dimensional, so it was more like a dimensional traveling, where through dreams I learned how to do things. Like I've been to Egypt in my dreams, and I remember information of certain things, like told where the missing ink was and all that, and it was just things that people who really believe me would call me crazy. The left hand of the Sphinx has a hidden chamber that if they would find it, they'll find out that there are more to our structure. How Egypt made electricity, and they were the first intelligence to ever land in Egypt and taught them the alchemy of metal making and things. That's why Egypt had all that gold and everything. But if you look at the hieroglyphics, it actually breaks down a pattern of electricity. And creation started in that area. And I did more history looking to see if what they said in my dreams was right compared to the history books. But now there's many YouTube videos that alters reality, dealing with CERN and things like that. And it's just recountering these beings kind of altered my reality and who I am, because I'm able to learn things from my dream perspective, and every once in a while I get a link between them and feeling, not really seeing things, but feeling the emotion and how things go in our atmosphere and in our world today.
So they're obviously still with you, but let me step back a bit, because you said first you were you were with them, and they showed you a laboratory, they showed you monitors, and then they told you to have an open mind. Now, did you see things there that you needed to have an open mind to understand who they were? In other words, did you see any? Now, you weren't abducted; you were invited. Did you see? Did you see anyone there that was abducted and they were being experimented upon, and the aliens were asking you to be open-minded and not judgmental because you saw other things that weren't that comforting? Did anything like that happen? Do you mind, Raven? Can you hold on 1 second? I think we got another caller. He may have a question for you. So hang on, please. Hello.
Oh, Dave Darren.
Yeah, this is Dave. Is this Dave as well?
This is Dave Emmons, yes.
Okay, so Dave, we have another caller on before you. We've got on Raven. So do you mind listening in to him, and maybe you can ask some questions as well at the same time? Is that cool? I'll bring you both in at the same time.
Cool.
Okay.
That's fine.
Okay, hang on. I'll merge you guys together. Hey, Raven, I trust that you're still there. Are you still there, Raven?
Yes, I'm still here, sir.
Okay, and we've got Dave on, too. Dave called as well. So we're going to have you guys talk to each other, and maybe Dave will have some questions for you, Raven. And Raven, you may ask Dave about what he's seen, because Dave actually said he was abducted by aliens, and Raven was invited by aliens to participate in joining them. So Raven, I guess, let me rephrase the question or ask it again. So you were invited to be with the aliens, and you were told to be open-minded. When anyone's told to be open-minded, that initially gives you a little bit of a scare factor, like, I'm being open-minded about what? So what were you supposed to be open-minded about, and were you accepting of what was taking place? So tell us about that a little bit, if you don't mind.
Yeah, see, the type of aliens that invited me was more human-like compared to the normal grays that everybody's known to see. There was a table that there was a female laying down, and it was like she was hooked up to a, almost like tubes, like how people go get plasma pulled in back and forth, and they was just inserting the fluids to her body, and it was one of their own kinds.
Okay, now, let me interrupt you a second.
Yeah.
So as soon as hopefully you don't mind me just intervening here with you and asking you questions as you go along. So when you see that, is it an immediate frightening thing to see and to witness? Someone's plugged in with stuff, gadgetry connected to them. That would scare the daylights out of most typical people just to see somebody there being manipulated. How did you feel about it? What was your feeling at that moment?
That moment, I didn't have any fear. It was like I was part of a school trip. It was like being in a medical lab. I had no fear of it. It's just they were trying to. They explained they was helping her because she had an illness, and they were trying to figure out the disease. This complex is more like there was gene slicing than anything, and compiling information of DNA mixed with other stuff. And I was shown so many different things. That was weird.
Okay, so that makes sense. So you're not afraid because you're kind of told that this is more like a healing laboratory / hospital to help heal this being. So that puts you at ease at that point, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So now, what happened after that? Did you tell me what transpired after that?
Well, after that, I went to another room, and it had all these mirrors. And inside the mirrors, it showed a lot of people. And they turned around and told me to remember these faces, so they're going to intervene in my life somehow. And through the mirrors, I saw like people combing their hair, arguing with each other. It was like almost like a dream, but not a dream. And it was that's how they communicated to me, was through my dreams.
Okay, now these mirrors, did they give you any identification? If they said that these would be people you would be interacting with. So interacting with in the current state, or was it a vision into the future? So they said like these are people you're going to be interacting with. Now they're being seen through the mirror. The mirror, I'm assuming, is a projection of either things occurring now or images of people that are going to be born into the future that you're going to interact with. Did you discover the realization of what did you find out about that?
I found out that the future ain't really set. It's more of a dimensional time rift, where our future is set on a timeline, which future don't exist, but at least on the timeline. However, you can go back towards the past.
Oh, are you still there? Hopefully I didn't lose both of you guys. Is anyone still there? Dave or Raven? Any of you guys still there?
I'm living under a rock or anything, and my mind's just totally, like, it's hard for me to think of things and be around people, is the way I feel things, and it's just at times scary and being alone and not sharing my experience because I feel very alone.
Okay, we lost some of that, which was unfortunate. We lost about maybe 15 seconds of you talking to us, but we got most of it, I think, so we're good with that. So I'm curious about continuing. You say that now you are visited in your dreams, but you're not really sure if you're and occasionally you're communicating with these aliens. But so tell us about that, and what do the aliens think of the human race? Because we're going to bring in David eventually and talk to his abductions, which is very different than your more invited aspect to deal with the aliens. But did they tell you anything about the human species on planet Earth? Do they like us? Do they tolerate us? Are they experimenting with us? What's their purpose of them being here in our presence at this state?
The ones that invited me been on Earth since the beginning of time. It was a forgotten civilization that did exist, but however, during the years of changing of the Earth's atmosphere and the flooding, and there was more towards there's a lot of myths and legends about the city of Atlantis.
Yeah.
And those is where they actually pinpoint the center of everything. A lot of history officers trying to find a city of Atlantis, which the city of Atlantis split two different ways. One, it went down into the ocean for some, and others just disappeared. However, when it disappeared, they got so smart that they explode themselves. The knowledge took over them, and they just went back into the atmosphere. Everybody, the human race is more of a, like you said, the Big Bang Theory. Same way with the humans. Our DNA structure is, by the years, changing, that we can now change our blood type depending on what we eat and how we live our lifestyle. So we are more evolving into something totally different for a new generation. Back in the old days, we was able to heal our skin, heal our cells, but because of the atmosphere and the things we did, it stopped our generation. The knowledge that they showed me was to pass to people to understand that we could go on and heal, but we just have to be open-minded for the things around us, and that there are other aliens that's visiting Earth that will manipulate and change it. It's like a good versus evil. And it's been going on years.
Okay. So let me call in Dave for a second. Don't leave, Raven, because I want you to interface and talk to David as well. You don't mind, do you, Raven? Is that okay with you?
Oh no, I do not. I do not mind.
Okay, so David, you're still there, correct? David, are you still there, or did we lose you? Hopefully, you're still there. We might have lost David. Maybe he'll call back, or maybe he's on. Oh, he's calling in now, so hang on. Let me reconnect him. Hello, David. Is that you again?
Yes, sir. This is Jeff calling in from Tucson, Arizona.
Oh, okay. So hang on a second. Let me bring you into the chat with us. Hang on one second.
All right.
Okay, I think we have lost David, but we got someone else calling in from, I believe, Tucson. Was it Jason? Is that who this is?
This is Jeff from Tucson.
Oh, Jeff. Okay, so Jeff, tell us about why are you calling in tonight? Did you want to talk to Raven? Did you want to discuss UFOs? He was actually invited.
You know, I know Wendy Clark, who I believe they're calling themselves ADT Investigations now.
Oh, yeah.
And, yeah, sir. And I love Wendy. I love their investigations. I really want to get out on one sometime. I have been down to Tombstone, and I did their little ghost investigation thing, but that's it wasn't satisfactory, put it that way. But you guys were talking about time travel last week.
Okay, well, you know what? This is not the. I know you have a beef with something that took place, but this is not the format for that. This is something that you should work out with someone else.
No.
Go ahead.
No. I was gonna ask, because they were talking about time travel, and I just recently read a couple of things by a couple of physicists, and they said time travel is completely doable, but not reverse time travel. That you can leap into the future, but you cannot go into the past. And I wanted to ask a question about that.
Okay, we can ask that question of Raven. Raven, are you still there, Raven? Oh, Raven, did we lose everybody? Hopefully we're not losing people.
Oh, boy, I think you might have had a big crash tonight.
Let's see. Okay.
The show, I wanted to last week, but I couldn't get on. So
okay, well, let's see. Who's in here?
This is Dave.
Okay, Dave, we got you back, and it looks like I lost Raven. I don't know why. I should be able to take 6 phone calls with this setup I got here. But Dave, Dave. By the way, we just had a call, and he's talking about time travel. So I can ask Dave. Now, Dave was actually abducted by aliens. Dave, do you have a perspective or thought about time travel? The caller says that we can travel into the future, but we cannot travel into the past. Since you've been with aliens who are a lot more advanced than us, did you learn anything about time travel, David?
Yes, I did, in an indirect manner. The aliens, when they track you, if they put an implant in you, they know where you're going to be a day ahead of time, hours ahead of time, so they go forward in time. Now, they can go backward in time if they go in your memory banks. So they can upload information from your brain, in which they've done to me. They brought back the voice of my dead sister. So they can go backwards and forward in time through their manipulation of time, but mostly they go forward in time because they seem like they know where I'm going to be whenever they pull this stuff, or they do an abduction, or if I see a UFO, they know exactly where I'm at. I've had 2 implants, and I've taken them both out, but actually I've had a jump in time in travel. I made a trip 30 minutes faster one time, and I saw a UFO go right over my car, and I felt it. I felt the magnetic energy. So they can actually advance you in time, and they know where you're going to be. So I can attest to that part of it. Now, the theoretical, scientific thing about backward in time or forward in time, I don't have that. But I do have information for myself that I have learned through my dealings with UFOs and abductions, that they can go forward in time and they can give you, I've actually been given vivid dreams of what's going to happen in the near future. So they can actually, I guess, implant memory into you for the future. So they do have control of time going forward. I can't really attest to the backward motion of time from my experiences, but from those experiences I've had, I have experienced some time like you're kind of numb. Actually, magnetic energy will dumb you down. Raymond was talking earlier a while ago. He said he wasn't abducted, but I don't know how he got on the spaceship. So I've had some vivid dreams about spaceships, and very vivid. I mean, nobody can make this up in my mind. So I know I was regressed from my abductions. So I've had 3 abductions that I know about because I was almost electrocuted by a static shock, and that's part of the abduction process in which they work with.
Now I think
the aliens.
I think Raven was invited, meaning that you didn't know how he got on the spaceship. But hopefully Raven will call back again because it appears like I've lost him. But I believe Raven suggested he was invited, and then through the accepting of the inviting, he was transported, whether it was through an electrical type of ability that you mentioned, or however it was done. Hopefully Raven will call back and tell us how that was done. But to get back to the time travel thing, so you're saying that traveling in to the future was very capable for the aliens, but I guess were they either careful or were they not able to go into the past? Because I think you said that they would be able to go into your past, your Pacific past, by analyzing your brain and learning what took place in your specific past without really going into the past. Now, do you know if they didn't go? Did they not travel into the past due to the dangers of that, or did they just not go into the past because they just didn't tell you about it? Or what was the case with the past? Clarify a little bit.
Well, the case with the past is they can only go. I only go back so many years of life.
Yeah.
So they can extract my thoughts and memories from my own brain from about let's say I'm 70 years old. So I'm a young 70. I'm saying, but. They can go back 70 years old, and I remember them extracting. They extracted movies from me. They extracted little kids' books that we started in first grade. I remember that the back of the cover of a child's book, and they were wanting to know how I learned, starting from I guess 1 on up, and I was abducted at 14 years of age. And my best buddy and I were together, and that's when it all started. And apparently they tried to put an implant in me, but I was able to dig it out. About a month later, it was in my groin area, in my scrotum.
Wow!
And it looked like a little Advil pill. And I pushed it out through a crack or a hole that they already cut. It was a pre-cut little red hole. And I pushed it back out through that. I had to squeeze it pretty tight to get it out. And it was a white ash color. And then it turned darker as I held it out of my hand. I showed my mom, and she said, "Throw that old thing away." And so she didn't know anything about UFOs back then or implants. Nobody really knew back then in those days. But it was just that thing that you knew it was an implant. It wasn't supposed to be there, and I need to, I needed to get that out. So when I did get it out, now I put the things together and I tied them all together. That it was that implant from the UFO my friends and I saw. That's the only thing I can say. They go back in time. They can go back in your memory, but forward in time, they can tell you a lot about time forward. I was given vivid dreams about a friend that had cancer. I was given a vivid dream about a plant closure when they was pumping in millions of dollars, and I was shown an empty plant. A few months after that, the plant was closed. So there,
It looks like we have another caller, Dave. Let me bring him in, if you don't mind.
okay.
Hi, who's called in?
All right. Hello?
Hello, yeah, caller. This is Dave Darren. Who do we have on here?
This is Raven.
Oh, Raymond, I lost you for a second. I have no idea how, but I'm glad you called back, and now I am getting that echo again. So, can you solve the echo again?
Is this better?
Yeah, that's better. Okay, so no, I don't know as it came back again. But Raymond, I don't know if you've been listening to our caller here, Dave, who was actually abducted, and actually I asked him about time travel, and maybe you can give us your perspective of what you witnessed. But our caller Dave said that the aliens were able to travel forward in time to the perspective that they could see what was happening in Dave's life with future people. I guess that, and I'll ask Dave if it's future people he would have had to know or people that he didn't know, but aliens would be able to understand his future, and they would be able to read his mind to evaluate what David experienced in the past. How about yourself, Raven? Do you have any conjecture on time travel, the aliens capable of it, forward, backwards? Anything? Did you witness anything via time travel?
Time travel works if you look at we are on a line. It's like our world exists in another world. We could go forward through time. However, we have to go forward, and then once we get to a point of forward, we could go back. And as soon as we go back to the same path, we then go back to the forward that we go to. It's like a timeline trying to go back and refix itself. And you can't actually go towards the future because the future is never set unless it's another dimension that parallels in a timeline that breaks. If you take two lines and you bridge it to an angle, you can hop onto the next line, and that could be a continuing of a timeline that's already happened, that a split second that you was brought back. I mean, that's my aspect of time traveling.
Okay, Dave, did you have the same conjecture on time travel? And it's quite possible you guys were, Raven was invited by aliens, David was abducted by aliens. It might be different aliens, of course, with different capabilities. So, Dave, did you understand what Raven was discussing? Did you understand it? Is that
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yes, because there is a confusion about how the aliens travel here. Are they interdimensional beings? Are they dimensional beings? Do they come through wormholes? Do we have another world or universe just like we are? Is there another Dave or Raymond on another planet going at the same rate of time? The scientists are trying to prove that. They said something about 11 universes and just as many dimensions, probably. And this is what academia comes up with. The academia really, in a way, they're behind on a lot of the ufologists who agree that dimensional travel and time travel is there, and I can't. It's confusing when you're dealing with ETs. I have seen 4 ETs. I know which ones I have dealt with, but I don't know if they were dimensional. Do they come through dimensional walls and pick up on it? Are they coming from another world that just goes through a wormhole and gets you real quick? I believe it's a little bit of both. I
Okay.
believe they come through dimensions, and then they also come through wormholes from other planetary systems.
Okay, so
That's my
Yeah,
go ahead, Raven.
I do like what he said, and he nailed in some of my questions that I had that I wanted to ask about dimensional traveling. From my experience with the ones that I was with, all right, it's basically what CERN is doing in Switzerland. They have capacity, a way of opening dimensional rift. Our universe and also Earth itself, Earth is the center point of things in another dimension because there is another Earth, but it's in a ring of, it's like an onion with layers. And there's a way of doing dimensional traveling and time travel. If you look back in the past, they show pictures in the 50s, 60s, that there was a lady that she was walking in a picture and she looked like she had a cell phone. And when I saw that picture, I looked at it and did, but if you look at what's going on with the Mendel effect, if you type in YouTube the Mendel effect, it's where something like the Berenstain is Berenstain, or the part of Darth Vader's one that says, Luke, I am your father. Instead it was, no, I am your father. It's like something's going back and we're changing little tiny pieces of our history that we don't see, and it's more like a hiccup through time. And the government's been working on time traveling back in the 50s and 40s, and they call it Project Bluebird, which that's another project to look up. I mean, there's all these experiments that happen on remote viewing, HARP. HARP is a weather program that they're doing. But all this is basically based on alien technology. That the first crash, when we read about the one in Roswell, New Mexico, however, in 1847, there was another crash that happened in Texas, which I just found that one out. And I'm going to look that one up.
So let me ask you guys, let me ask Raven first of all, since we're getting into a little bit of interesting thing with dimensions. I actually believe that there are other dimensions. Now it's interesting because Dave said there's 11. Is that what you said, Dave? And how did they come up with that number,
Right.
by the way? How would
11 universes. Dave,
Why
to tell you
11?
the truth, you and Raven, I don't get into the academia part of it. I know somewhat of it. The science of everything. I look at archaeology. I look at ancient history. I look at these things, and I look at past things like the UFO crashes in the past in Texas in 1889, I think it was. Or whatever I look at those crashes, but I'm kind of the now and forward type person. I look at my experiences and I'm trying to tie them together and trying to figure out why these things happen to me and why do they sometimes keep going. Now, dimensional, yes, I think there could be dimensional, invasion of us with the ETs, but I know when I feel the magnetic energy that surrounds me, it either dumbs me down or it knocks me completely out. And that's what they use. And when you feel that magnetic energy, you get a little sick in your stomach, you get woozy, and you don't know where you're at, and you don't talk. It's like they're trying to tell you, don't grab that ball bat, don't grab the camera. We're in control. You're okay. Everything's fine. Many times, I guess, through these abductions and everything. So, yeah, I try not to get into the theories of it. I make judgment calls from what I've experienced and try to tie it together with academia.
Okay, let me ask Raven. Raven, when you are invited all the time, you're not abducted.
Yeah.
Now, when you're invited, what experiences do you have? Do you feel that magnetic energy? What do you feel when?
Actually, he is right.
Okay.
I share the same way how David felt about the magnetic field, because now I started to study about magnetic electricity, I'm more like a lightning bug. I build things that deals with magnetic fields. And every time I'm around our bodies contains electricity. We can have enough people to power up a single room with our energy. He's actually somebody I would like to talk more about it because I'm more intrigued in what he set up with the magnetic fields. And he's on point with a lot of things. See, I never gone to school. I'm a dropout. I never got a GED. It's just he is actually on point on a lot of things, and yes, it's about magnetic fields. And sometimes I get pressured on not saying anything, is because I don't feel like that. At times I'm in control, and that's why I haven't shared my idea with anybody.
Okay, let me ask you guys the question about dimensional travel. So when Dave was mentioning about potentially 11 different dimensions. And I don't think Ravens has talked about dimensions yet. But let me ask you this question: when there's alternate dimensions out there, are they dimensions of Dave Darren in 2019, and then Dave Darren in 2019 in another dimension, and Dave Darren 2019 in a third dimension, all the way up to 11 of them, or is each dimension a different time slice? Maybe Dave Darren is in 2011, or is there a difference?
Yeah, you're coming in choppy. It's choppy, Dave.
Oh, wow. Okay. Raven, did you hear me at all, or is it still choppy for you?
Yeah, it's like watching the movie One. If you ever seen the movie One, how the guy went back in time to find himself, and there was all mirror image of himself. We have our own. If you go into dimensional, we live on a different timeline. So if we go to one dimension, there'll be one of us in another dimension, but it could be us doing something totally different.
Okay. How about
I can tell you of an incident that I was duplicated one time coming through New Mexico at the Trinity site where the first nuclear bomb went off. Oh, by the way, my schooling is in journalism, so I'm not educated either. Journalism, I'm a journalistic investigator. That's what I'm doing now, and I'm doing it on my. I'm doing it for myself. I got a real thick ledger. But getting back to the story about being duplicated, I was in a Trinity, New Mexico, coming through there. Something hit my car window with a big thud, and I didn't know what it was. I didn't see anything. It was almost invisible. And then I felt all the hair standing up on my arm and on my back, my neck, and it has been some kind of a magnetic energy. So I continued on my trip, and then I got to San Antonio, and I talked to a gal there who checked me into my hotel room, and it was about 10:30 at night, so I went on to bed. And then the next morning, she said she saw me at Walmart at 11:30. I said, no, you didn't. You did not see me at Walmart at 11:30. I was in bed. She said, oh, yes, I did. And I was so mad, I just got out of there, so I left. But then I got into town. I had my car fixed because I had hail damage in Arizona. And I went into the car dealership, and I sat down. I was only there 2 minutes, and one guy walked by. He said, you've been here almost 2 hours. I said, no, I haven't. He said, yes, you have. He said, it's you. He said, I know it's you. Same clothes, everything. I said, no, sir. I've only been here 3 minutes. So there was 2 times that somebody saw a double of mine. And a doppelganger. So that could be, they might reproduce us in a holographic form, and it's kind of you, it talks like you, smells like you, and that's how they can reproduce us. I don't know how long they keep that, or if the double goes to another planet. I'm not quite sure what they do with that double, but I've never seen or heard of that double again, but it happened twice, so that kind of confirmed my belief that something happened that doubled me. So that's just a quick story on that. Dimension-wise, I don't think science has even really got everything right. I think they've had everything wrong. If you look at the past and the ancient archaeology, they got everything wrong. And so we don't know what's really going on. And that's why I say I'm only dealing with my own occurrences, and I'm going from there and to try to learn more from what happened to me. So that's where I'm based out of.
Okay, Nate Raven, what do you think about that? And I think your radio is still feeding back. You got to get that off somehow.
Yeah, you can sound a little choppy.
Yeah, I think you're back. I think someone's phone is with a radio near it because I'm hearing background feedback, and I think it's Raven actually. So you still have feedback. Okay, let's try it again.
Better?
I don't know. Okay, so let's say, what did you?
Is this a little better?
That's a little bit better. Okay, so what did you think about the clone or duplicate of Dave? Have you ever experienced that, or do you know about it since you've been more politely part of that?
The duplication of doppelgangers, the way he said when somebody saw him at Walmart and he's been there, it's more of a timeline colliding with each other. It's like a deja vu incident, meaning your path was there, but there is a thing where you fall into wormholes. There's some wormholes that we don't even see. It's a fabric through time, and it's like a riff. And when they got the doppelgangers cloning, it's more of a dimensional, that our dimension is meeting with another dimension. It's more intense of the energy that pulls to open these layers of dimensions. It's like our universe is connected to many other universes. It's like the planets, like how they say all these planets out here, like the Big Bang Theory. So it's like you could be in one area and then also somebody says you're somewhere else. I had that happen to me a lot of times. I'm like, oh, okay. And it's like you're automatic time traveling, but you don't realize you're time traveling without doing it. And if you fall asleep, your energy can shift like a time rift. And those theories have never been disputed. These are things that I'm trying to come up to understand if scientists will try to get a hold of me into understanding, because I see things in a different way. My blood type has changed ever since me meeting up with these beings. I'm more enhanced, but I lost a lot of common sense and things. And I'm more in tune the way how the Earth is, how the Earth dimensional is. These aliens was on Earth more than a first wave during the Big Bang Theory. That's why there's all these caverns with crystals and things like that.
So now, do you feel like you're being badly manipulated by the aliens? Because, for instance, you said your blood type changed and things in your personality and your perspective or your ability to think has been changing. Are you being manipulated by the aliens and as an experiment? Are you back on Earth as an experiment now?
I'm more, when I look into it, I feel like what you call a star seed, meaning I'm back. It's like I didn't go anywhere. It was more of, because of our atmosphere and the changing of time, it's like a test subject of things to come. I mean, our atmosphere, if you go in with the ozone layer being polluted, things like that, they're looking for a way to enhance our species, the ones that I ran into, because there's more of our being is changing, our atmosphere is changing, our minds is changing, our technology is changing. We are like a computer being upgraded. Every time we sleep, we gain information, but we don't hold it.
Okay.
We hold the information in our subconscious mind.
Are they feeding you and other beings on the planet Earth with information periodically to help us speed up our development efforts? In other words, they're in contact with you. They said that your blood types changed, your cognitive abilities have changed. I would imagine that they are interconnected with other beings on planet Earth as well. Are they feeding us information, and that's how we're taking these larger leaps in technology than we might do on our own? Are they feeding us abilities to progress us?
Oh, we're, to my own opinion, I feel like that we are more like AI. We are binetical in intelligence. I mean, look at the new AIs that's going on with the computer system. And if you look how we are evolving as humans, we're getting more knowledge. And there's like so many different type of beings. There's the gray, there's the paladin, which those are the blonde hair, 6 foot humanoids. But however, the humanoid ones are more like shapeshifters. There's many different races that came through dimensional rifts. Look what happened with the the triangle thing? The Bermuda Triangle. Everybody's trying to figure out what that is. Stonehenge. Everybody's trying to figure out what that is. The pyramid was a power plant in Egypt. If you look through it, if you put an apple in one of the pyramids and leave it there for 6 months, that apple will not change because of the magnetic field. Everything for our beginning of time, it will be found in Egypt, which nobody don't want to test out that theory because they're afraid of what they're going to find about the missing link.
All right. Wow. So I did ask you this question earlier, and it looks like, did we lose David? Did we lose him? If we lost...
No, you haven't asked me a question like
Oh, okay, good. I'm glad you're still there. Some reason I thought I lost you. What have you discovered anything, David, along with Egypt and any things like, what was the initial alien verse into human connectivity? Do you have any time frame on that? When was the first, anything at all? Like, was it Egypt? What was it?
Well, academia can't figure it out because they've been mistaking things for some time. And the thing about I guess they're talking like humans have been here 300 million years, and they're also saying that this world was populated even before then. It's just been over and over and over. We just start over again, and another tectonic plate moves over, covers everything after millions of years, and we start again. And they're finding old relics in the ground, pieces of a UFO that was something like 60,000 years old, and the metal that they had in there was some type of aluminum with titanium mixed in with it. And they didn't have that kind of metal. We don't have it today.
Okay, let me ask you something, because you're on a topic I'm interested in. When you said that they discovered like things that we don't have now, and you said that
Right.
planet Earth had people on it, and then a tectonic plate covers everything up, and we start again.
Sure.
So is it possible that the things that we don't think are currently available to us now are things that we were able to do via maybe like 10,000 years from now, if we're still without a tectonic plate covering us up? Maybe we reached a sophistication and an education to create this stuff. So maybe it's not aliens, maybe it's us that has advanced, and then when we're covered up, we got to start all over again and reach the next level of success. So is it not aliens? Is it just us that have advanced to such a degree that we're misinterpreting?
Yeah, Dave, I really think it's the aliens who've intervened throughout our human cycle, and they back in I guess what they call 65,000 years ago, Zacharias Sitchin talked about this, ancient Sumeria. What they did is they genetically manipulated us, and they made us from Cro-Magnon to human beings as we are now, Homo sapiens, and that's how they have been doing. And I heard the Raymond talk about that they're advancing us through our human evolution and making us smarter. Yeah, they are. You can see the young kids nowadays. You got 5-year-olds and 6-year-olds that can play piano like Mozart and everything else. So it's getting to be that we're getting to be smarter as we go along. But I think it's actually genetically manipulating us. Because I had 2 implants, and I think those implants give me, I know Raymond talked about electrical energy. I was hit by it 3 times in abductions, and I went to the airport. I went to the scanner that goes around. I don't know the name of the machine, but it checks for everything. You hold your arms up when you're going on a foreign flight. And what they saw, they stopped me, and what they saw was about 5 yellow blobs on my chest, in my belly, and on my shoulder. and they held me, and they wouldn't let me go until they actually, searched me down really well and looked at me, and they didn't know what those yellow spots were. Well, my second thought was those yellow spots were from the aliens firing electricity through me and actually firing up some of those cells that they put on those implants, and that's where I got that now. And it's happened to me twice. They stopped me after that machine. So, yeah, but going back to alien intervention, yes, I really believe it's alien intervention. We didn't progress on our own. You'll see a lot of these people like Tesla, Edison, and all these people that really come up with some really good ideas. Werner von Braun, the guy that's in charge of going to the moon with the rockets. Well, when they asked him a question, how did you get this information? He pointed up to the ceiling. He said, them, up there. So also Tesla said the same thing, that he gets his ideas at sleep, in his sleep from them. And he didn't say they were ETs back then. They didn't call them that, but he said them. So actually, I really feel that people that are really picked to be geniuses, they might be picked because the ETs are giving them the privilege to be a genius. That's my thoughts. And the Big Bang Theory, we talked about that a while ago. Now scientists are changing their mind about how that happened. So you can see academia is just back and forth and back and forth. So I actually believe in the alien intervention thing, and I actually believe that we've been here before, and we've been on Mars, and we've been on other planets, and I believe that that's, you can call it the ufologists. They have a lot of it right. I think in the future, I think we're going to find that to be true.
Okay, so let me ask both of you guys. Let me go back to Raven, and Raven, you answer, and then we'll come back to Dave, and you answer. So the question here is that we're talking about aliens that seem not to really be destructive to the human race. Now, I believe that there are aliens of different forms, different types, different planets they're from. So I believe that there are probably the better aliens that you guys are both describing, and there's probably the ones that are, whether they be careless or destructive. So aren't there both types out there? We're talking about aliens that are interfering with human development, giving us advantages to progress with the Einsteins and those guys. Aren't there the guys out there that want to destroy us? Have you guys ever conceived of them, heard about them from both the alien abduction perspective or the inviting of Raven? Haven't there been discussions about the ones that are out there to just wreck the whole thing, which is human mankind on Earth?
Well, throughout history, I'm not much about history, but I learned the word through my family because I'm from Hawaii. I was born in Hawaii, and I'm also native. We heard the story about the Incas or something like that. Also, there was a lot of stories about the Incas, which they talk about as sky people. Some natives in Nevada will talk about sky people and people from the stars. There are many different beings, like if you go with the Greys and the reptilians. I have not came across these beings, but I came across people that had evil intention, like they was influenced by something, and I don't really know what it is. I mean, I'm still a little new with this stuff, and it's hard for me to pinpoint certain things.
Okay, Dave, what do you think? Are there bad aliens out there? Have you witnessed them, experienced them?
From my experience, I ran into about 4 different aliens. In 1996, I had a little gray-green alien come to my bedside, and I thought it was my daughter going in the medicine cabinet in our bedroom. And I saw this little being about 3.5 feet tall. He was really wrinkled and much uglier than what they have pictured in the newspapers or on catalogs or whatever. He had some deep wrinkles, and his eyes, he didn't have the black lenses on. I could see the whites of his eyes and the dark, pupils of his eyes. I can see that, and it scared me. I was on my elbow looking at him, and I was hollering my daughter's name, and she didn't answer. So this thing come up beside me, and I looked at him, and I had fear for about 3 or 4 seconds. Then all of a sudden I felt sleepy, and I just kind of fell out asleep. And then I woke up. My eyes were battering and twittering like a nervous tick. And then I saw in a very vivid dream, I know Raymond was talking about this earlier, about these tall whites, and those are Nordics. And they think that those were the Anunnaki that come here, and those were Nordics. And I ran into a Nordic on a very vivid dream. These dreams I've had were just like I was there. This was a regression from an abduction. And I know that for a fact because you can't make these little details up. I was on a mothership, a huge ship. It was like stainless steel walls and hallway. I walked down to this hallway and I saw a crowd of, I guess, entities or beings. I couldn't see who they were. And there was 3 podiums, and there was 3 different people holding different animals. It was kind of like a Noah's Ark I thought I was on. And then I walked back, and I saw these I guess, females in white. They wear white smocks a lot on board ship, the females especially, if they're working or if they're kids. And I looked in between what they were doing. There was a baby there about 6 months old. It had 3 eyes, right straight across. It wasn't up on the forehead. It was down center of the eyebrow, right straight across. I had a little black box following me, and then I turned around, and coming down the hall was a tall, well, real pale woman, and she was tall, and she was very well, built, like she was cut with a razor, and she had a tan top and a tan bottom, like a 2-piece. And she had no hair, but her eyes were big, and they were dark. And she come up to me, and took me to a panel, and she showed me this panel, and then she disappeared. And then she come back, and I asked her, how did you do that? And she just had a little grimace on her face. And then she told me to walk down this hall with her, and I guess that's when I disappeared. So I was on board that ship, and I was on board another ship where I ran into a spotted blue alien. There's blue aliens that come. They were in India. Back in the ancient times, India talked about the blue people, the genie in the bottle type of person. And I saw this spotted blue alien. But the funny thing about it, they in the dream, in the vivid dream, I saw their arms. Why I saw their arms so well, and I saw the little hairs sticking up on their arms, both of them. And that kind of told me that maybe they were kind of humanoid in a respect.
How do you know these vivid dreams are not reality of you actually being there? Who's to say that you cannot? I
was told I was actually there. That's what I'm saying.
There we are. Okay.
A regressed dream is something that happened to you, and you brought it back on your own.
Okay.
But the reptilians are the mean ones. What they're talking about. The only reptilian I saw was I woke up one morning about 6 o'clock. I looked over towards my closet. I saw about a 5.5-foot being that looked like a cobra, and that's a reptilian. And I was scared to death because I'm afraid of cobras. So I saw this creature, and I thought, my God! And I started jumping on bed. And I looked around, and it was gone. It just showed up, and I heard that they do that sometimes just to test you, to see how you would react to it. And then the other aliens I saw was actually a humanoid hybrid. I spent 20 hours with this person in Sedona, just north of you, Dave. Mm-hmm. And Sedona's got some hybrids there. And if you're really curious about it, you can go there and find out. There's a Japanese hybrid that I ran into, and it was strange. It's a long story, so I know she's a hybrid because 6 months later she come to my house with my cousin sitting on the front porch with me, March 17th. And she and 2 younger Japanese gentlemen that she had with her, she stayed away, and she didn't want me to see her face. And then we were dumbed down. Neither one of us talked. We didn't know what happened. My cousin, he's about as shallow as a dry creek bed, so he's very skeptic. And he asked me after it was over with, he said, "What just happened?" And I said, "I can tell you, but you won't believe it." He was so scared, he turned pale white, got in his truck, and he took off.
Wow.
So I know that that the story was true, because if it wasn't for the second half of the visit, I would have never thought too much of that in Sedona. And I had a regress dream there also. I found out how they erase your memory. But I guess I need to let Raymond talk, or you have more to ask?
Yeah, well, you know what? Let me get to some questions here that people are asking on the chat session here. First of all, Wendy Clark called, and sorry I missed your call somehow. And sometimes it gets complicated taking two calls and then trying to get a third call in there. So I'm going to have to figure out a better way of doing this, and I apologize to Wendy for not being able to get through. But I'm going to ask the question that Mary actually asked here, and this was an interesting one because actually Raven had talked about experimentations in time that the U.S. government has been doing and experiments in technology. So we're talking about our U.S. government experimenting with time travel and a variety of things. So Mary was interesting with this question because it kind of goes to those topics. She says there is no definitive proof for or against the existing of aliens. I would feel more that they are being manipulated, you guys being manipulated, by other humans or government or private corporations via things like hallucinogenic drugs or devices or mind control. So I guess what Mary's asking is it at all possible that you guys are being manipulated by some control of our own other humans, whether they be in government, the FBI? Do you think it's possible that what you are being interacting with are not aliens, but they're experiments with other humans being experimented upon you by other humans? Is that at all possible, or what do you think about that?
Wow, that's a pretty interesting question. I'm sorry, I just had a thought.
Go ahead, sure. We'll go to you, and then we'll go to Dave next. But go ahead, Raven. You answer it first.
See, I usually thought about that, but right now, if you look at what's going on, even in the news, they're starting to say a little bit more that there is life on other planets and we don't pay attention. But she was thinking about the CIA's project with the brainwashing back in Vietnam, I think, when they had LSD and they tested on the soldiers. That's why there's a lot of talk about our Social Security number. It's actually a tag for test subjects that they can pinpoint. However, the government is actually there's a thing called shadow government, and some conspiracy theory people would understand that the shadow government is hidden. I don't do politics because I could get in deeper in that, because I studied with the old projects like Project Stargate, Bluebird, the HARP, all them. And this is done with the technology that they found in Roswell, like the spacecraft flying back and forth, that they had the technology, but they're slowly releasing it. And it's like now a lot of people think the government is using us as test subjects. So that's a dangerous water thread to do, because we all know that Big Brother's watching us somehow.
Yeah, well, Dave, what do you think about that, the question I just asked?
Well, I can tell your caller that, as far as I'm concerned, no. The government's not involved in what the ETs have done with me. The ships that I saw, the earliest one was in 1963. They didn't have that type of ingenuity back then. And the ship that I saw was a huge triangle that went over my house, and my mom lives down the street, and she saw it, and two of my brothers saw it. And that was not made by the U.S. government. That one flew over me, and I saw it was only about 60, 70 feet up, and I saw the underbelly of it, and I can tell you exactly what it looked like. It was only going about 30 miles an hour. So, it's not that. Okay, now the U.S. government, I'm not going to get into politics either, but actually, if you listen to an interview today by Trump, he said that the industrial military complex, they like wars. They like wars because they make money on it. There's $450 billion that goes to the black operation, and nobody's supposed to ask any questions. It goes through Congress, no questions asked. yes, they're doing military experiments. I was out at Area 51. I was out there on Groom Lake Road, and I didn't go past the border there, so I didn't do that. But I went out there, and that's where they're doing a lot of it. There's a base in Utah that they're doing a lot of experiments on underground in Taos, and also there's another place out there I visited. I can't think of the name of it, but they've got the reptilians there. But there's underground areas in which they are experimenting with humans. But a lot of the humans they're experimenting with are actually soldiers or volunteer soldiers. They might take in a person or two that might volunteer with something they don't know what they're volunteering for. But are they controlling us like Raven and myself? I don't think so. I think our experiences, at least I can say myself, my experiences are coming directly from ET, and because of what I've seen, and there's no reason for them to actually pump this information into me or make me go through these events with UFOs and ETs. There's no reason for them to do it. They like for us to talk about it, and that's just like with Raven and I. The government actually, they like for us to talk about it like this because they think we're fools, and they're trying to make us look like fools. They turn 50% of the population against another 50% of the population that might be a believer. So they don't mind us talking about abduction. But one thing I don't do, and I won't do, and I've learned this through a lot of serious researchers, that I've never been involved with the military. I've never seen the military involved with anything I was with. There was one time I was with this hybrid alien. There was a guy that looked like he had kind of a shaved head, and he had a headset on, and he didn't look at me, and he kept pulling up beside the car where this hybrid alien I was talking. And that could have been her protection. They travel in threes. They got a human sponsor, they got protection, and then they learn the trade of being a human being by extracting emotions from us. But to answer that question, that's a long route I'm going, I know, but no, it's not me. There could be others that are manipulated by these secret experiments, and in which they got a lot of, there's no doubt. And they're probably 10 or 20 years ahead of where we think they're at. So, yes, but I don't want to get involved in that stuff.
Okay.
That's dangerous.
Okay,
I agree with him. I agree with Dave. I'm younger, but I see that Dave has more experience about the alien abduction because you come from two different sides. Me, the way after my abduction, I don't know, it wasn't an abduction, it was a volunteer. Ever since that happened, I've been looking for testing facilities to be a genuine guinea pig to test my body limits to see if what happened to me is true or not. And I've been through like so many different lab tests, and my body's handling certain things. I mean, the doctors couldn't explain. See, they found a dormant TV cell in my body, and that was something I was born with. And it's like a dormant, and nobody don't know where I got it from.
Well, let me ask you guys another question here. And I think Dave brought this up, so let me address it to both of you. Maybe we'll start off with Raven this time, and then we'll go to Dave. I think I've been doing it that way most of the show here, but I think Dave brought up the fact that we've been on this planet a long time. I think, oh, by the way, Raven, I think you got to turn the volume down again on the radio. But I think Dave brought it up that we've been on this planet for a long, long, long time. And whether they be earthquakes or things that have covered up the remains of our old progress, and then we have to start from scratch again. So since that's taken place, and also the fact that there are hybrids of, I'm assuming, humans and these aliens, don't the aliens have an ability to protect us so that our planet does not cover up our developing society? Can't they help us out so that we don't have to start all over again and we're wiped out and then we're in ground zero and we got to start all over again and create until we hit another limit with another disaster that the earth is giving us? Why don't they make an effort to try to preserve us so that we actually get closer to where the aliens are now in as far as their development? Because we would have an ability to do that if we didn't have to do this reset every time. What, Dave? What do you or Raven? What do you think about that?
That is an interesting question because I was never told, I never answered a question like that before. The way I see it with the reset button is like asking for a mulligan. The more it's like talking about reincarnation, things like that. As we get older, our body will die, but our energy will be still forever on the earth. So therefore, we recycle back. It's like the earth spinning in a cycle. Like so many years, we will go back with storms and then come back with the same storm of a repeating of a rotation. Same thing with life. Has its endless cycle, like everything comes back to a circle. That one for me would be an interesting question to answer because I was never, I didn't even have somebody ask me that about that, so I can't answer that one.
So you're actually thinking that maybe human existence, as we go 10,000 years in the future, we are no longer a physical form. We might be the energy that even if the Earth gets wiped out, maybe we at that point are then more involved in the aliens because we're closer to them being now energy. And it may be the civilization of the aliens and the hybrid of humans, since we've developed an ability beyond our current 2019 state. Maybe we are heavily involved with the aliens at that point because we've reached their standard. And then the Earth is starting over with a fresh collection of growth from the 0 point to grow into the beings that could then be part of the alien species. Is that possible there, Dave?
Yes, I think for the first part of your question was what aliens are against us and which ones are for us. Well, the ones that I think are for us are the ones that I ran into, in which it was a spiritual feeling. It wasn't a fear of, there wasn't any drama, there wasn't any pain, not much pain unless the shocking or the electrocution on two or three occasions. But I think there's the little grays and there's a medium-sized gray. They're working with the Nordics. Those are the tall white, and those are the ones that are protecting us. Also, I ran into the blue spotted one, and of course I run into the hybrid, in which I'm confused about. I think the hybrid was probably a gray that did some shape shifting, and I think they're protecting our planet. Yes, there are some. They say the reptilians. Now, I don't have enough experience with the reptilians. I've seen one, but I don't have the experience. But they say they're the mean ones, and they're the ones who actually want to destroy us. But we have, if you watch these NASA films, you'll see where there's been a streak of light and another streak of light go after it. It's like these UFOs or these ETs are fighting each other out in space, just beyond our atmosphere. So they're fighting actually over this Earth. A lot of times they have visitors that come in. These other ETs that are here, they're actually living here. They're in the ground. They're in the ocean. They got bases here, and so they're protecting us. You ask, why don't they destroy us? Because we do have about 3 or 4. I heard 7 as many that are protecting us, and then the others would wish to take over or wish us harm. But actually, I don't think any of them really want to destroy us, because if they did, they would have destroyed us already. Actually, after the nuclear bomb, used in World War II, I think that's when they would have kicked our butts, because that was the red line as far as the ETs are concerned. They don't want us to destroy each other down here. They want us to keep going for some reason, and they're helping us out. They're hybrids are coming here, and they're actually exchanging semen. I've had semen taken from me twice that I know of. I actually saw the hose going to my groin. So they're actually they're taking eggs from females. They're actually wanting to make us smarter and better. So they could be, we could be them one of these days. And also, I have to say this too, knowing that it's spiritual, dimensional, or whatever it is that's happened to me, it's been a good ride for me, and it's been a good experience for me to go through all this. But one of the things I have to say, I think Jesus Christ was Jesus Christ, but he was in a spiritual form. And there are spiritual forms of aliens. And that's not cutting him down or anything. I also believe there's a God. When I say a prayer, here's how I say it. I say, Lord, Creator, God of gods, Jesus. I say God of gods because the ancient people thought that the aliens were gods, but they're not. And there is a God. There is a main energy source. The aliens call it the source. We call it God because the hybrid told me, she said, your God doesn't do me any good. So apparently they believe in something else, or they know there's a source of all the energy in the universes. We have to say universes now, not just universe. But that's where I'm at with that. There is a God or a source, and Jesus was a spiritual being, and he was here to teach us, but the people back then just didn't learn too good.
Any thoughts on that, Raymond? The religious concept here?
Actually, he put it so well put. I mean, the way he put it makes you look at the verses. Okay, we're going to go into that area of talk. There's a verse when the alien. If you want to talk about aliens and ETs, the humanoids, the blonde hair, blue eyes, the dress all in white, was considered paladins, almost like angels that came to talk to people. That's where they had that glowy light. And if you look at the paintings that they have, they show little halos around their head. And then if you go look deeper into the biblical versions of alien technology, they'll talk about a will within a will. And that tells us how long these aliens have been here on Earth, because it was written inside the Bible too, but a lot of people don't really want to go that route, because basically based on religion, a lot of wars have started with religion, a lot of wars have started with politics, and it's just that people do not know how to get along. I mean, if we could set aside our differences, that means we could get along, but a lot of people can't set aside our differences, and it breaks my heart to see everybody fighting. And it's hard for me to understand what is right, what is wrong with the manipulation of people, backstabbing other people.
Okay. Let me ask you.
Yes, I think religion is good for people, for a lot of people. I go because I feel spiritual. And when you get around a lot of people that has the same feeling, but I don't have the same, I'm not going to get into the biblical part of it. Noah was tall, light complected, had blue eyes and blonde hair. This is one of the books, the books that they didn't put in the Bible back in 350 AD. And then they talked about Moses seeing God, and you got the Ark of the Covenant, and that could have been a communication device. So that's as far as I go into religion. As far as I think Raven was talking about Ezekiel, the wheel within a wheel. Yeah, I get that.
The Ark of the Covenant. I'm sorry. I love the Ark of the Covenant because that was used as a battery charger for the pyramid. Because it set up, it gave Egyptians the land life. It was a conductor, a power source, and when it was pulled out, that's when everything started to die over in Egypt. It was like a battery conductor for a power plant.
I never heard that angle, Raven, but anything can happen there. We don't really know.
Yeah,
and that's what scientists are saying. We don't really know.
Let me conclude tonight's show by asking the question that Wendy called in to ask, but she's typed it here, so I want to ask you guys this question, both of you. So Wendy says, are the guests worried that these aliens that abducted and invited these guests, since both of you guys are a little different, one was abducted, the other one was invited, are they worried that the aliens would be angry that they are talking about what happened and giving us too much information about the aliens? Do you think that they would appreciate you guys not talking on talk shows and getting the word out there, and especially as this show grows, and hopefully I'll get more visitors, listeners, and audience, and then people like you guys that come on to shows like this, like the Art Bell Show, there were a tremendous amount of people listening, so this
right.
information is getting out there. Do they think they're going to eventually get upset or maybe even shut you guys down? And are there any consequences?
I'm sorry for interrupting.
That's okay. Any consequences? You think there could be consequences of coming on and delivering these information bits to us?
For me, the consequences will be like government trying to shut me up because I did with Tesla background where I could build things by using Tesla's knowledge. Because I learned how to, look into the past and see the structure of what he developed. And mine is trying to, the more I talk, I feel like the government is like keeping an eye on me. Like there's like you ain't supposed to talk about it. And then also they shut the phone off. Or like how I lost my connection with you earlier, my phone kind of buzzed and went off.
Now, by the way, this knowledge that you're getting, that you just said that you're getting, how are you getting this information? Are you getting it from the aliens? Or are you getting it from an ability to remote view? How are you getting this little extra source of knowledge?
Mine is through remote viewing of dreams that I could go, when I fall asleep, I could go through time in my sleep. I could go to other dimensions. I could try, it's more like a sleep study. They had a project that they tried to do it back in the 50s, and they had a Stargate project, and they had remote viewing back in the 50s and 60s. And I looked up on how to do it, and I taught myself how to do remote viewing and how to develop a pattern of sleep where I can control my own dreams and learn how to travel in dreams and talk to people. I had people asking me if I was in their dreams because they saw me inside their dreams. So I developed a way of, they call it a dream walker, basically.
Yeah,
it's a native thing.
Now, did you learn this on your own, or did you learn a little bit on your own and the aliens helped you to develop it beyond your human capabilities? Did you have help from them to progress you in this ability?
This ability of a dreamwalker was more of a family. My family came from Hawaii, and we don't really. It's more of something that I try to look on my own, but it's more of a taught in my dream when I met this old man inside a dream, and it was more like a shaman. And he sat me down, and he taught me how to be like the natives, how to walk with the wind, how to listen to the wind.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Dave, what's your answer to that? Do you feel that there's going to be any consequences for coming on this talk show or the other huge ones that have a lot of listeners? Any consequences that you might suffer from this, or especially since you were abducted, you were not invited? Abduction means that you're brought there under some form of control, and they want to control you. And now you're not being in control because you're coming out and telling us about what you've witnessed, what you've seen. Any consequences that you feel might come your way?
Well, I can give you a little history on consequences of people I've talked to from the past. In the 70s and 80s and 60s, yes, you were visited by the Men in Black, and you were visited by military people, and they would want to know what you learned and what's going on, and then they'd tell you to stop, or you'll pay the consequences. With us, I know myself, I'm not saying anything that the military don't already know. And what I've learned is through my own experience. It hasn't been through any military connections or anything like that. So I'm not afraid. When you get into trouble is when you start messing with the government and you start telling stories on the government, or you start talking about the Black Operations Unit. And if you know something about that, that's when you get into trouble. I guess the call-in person, I don't, I've been talking off and on about this subject for years, from my first UFO visit when I was 14. And I've had people follow me. I've seen people that stood there and looked at me, and they looked like FBI or whatever, and they just stared at me, and then they'd walk on, and they disappeared. I'm not sure if there are people, the U.S. people, are there people that are they're dimensional or whatever they are. But sometimes I'll see strange people that'll pop up and they're watching you. They're called watchers. Even back in Christ's days, they called them watchers. So I'm not afraid, really, because I'm not saying anything, like I said, that hasn't been already said. But also, there's more. The last 15 years, there's been a big buildup of disclosure. Dr. Greer and everybody's talking about disclosure. Now the Pentagon is talking disclosure. They're actually putting out videos on some of their UFO experiences. So disclosure is much more accepted now. Now, if it was 20 years ago, maybe it's different, but now disclosure is more, I'm protected under disclosure in a way. I'm not saying, I won't, suffer consequences. Who knows? I don't know what goes on with all the connections between the underground black ops, the military-industrial complex, or the ETs, or dimensional or interdimensional. I don't know how that all works together. I don't really care. What I concern myself with is what I've seen and what has happened to me. I want those questions answered. And I guess what I'm saying is I don't expect any retaliation. You can tell your caller that I don't feel that there would be any retaliation to me because I haven't done anything out of the way or crossed them. Same thing with Raven. I don't think he's had any military intervention or anything like that. So we're good troopers as far as that's concerned. No, I don't expect that retaliation. And also, they do upload and download, just like a computer in your mind.
Yeah.
They can take your brain, like Raven was talking about. They can download information to you in your dreams. A lot of times, that's where I get a lot of vivid dreams, and I'm told things, and I learn things through my dreams, just like Raven does. So yes, they do upload and download, and I felt them do it. I get real weak, real kind of dizzy-like, and I have to lay down, and then that's when they abduct you. It goes in a sequence. You get weak, you're very tired, you lay down, and then they abduct you. That's how it works. They slowly just, and Dr. David Jacobs, he's the most renowned, specialist in abduction. He said there's a lot of people that's been abducted and they don't know it.
Wow. Okay. You know what? I think you guys were tremendous guests. I think I probably should have had each of you on as a specific guest to just talk to each of you. So you know what I think we should do? We had like 70 some comments here from a lot of people that might have called in, but the complications of 70 people calling in would have made this a nightmare. So you know what I think I'm going to do? I'm going to talk to the 70 people that have talked to us or wanted to talk to you guys, but were typing. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask the audience to come up with 10 to 20 questions for each of you guys, and I'll invite you guys on sometime in the future. Maybe we'll make it like a month and a half from now, and I'll have Raven on and I'll have Dave on, and I'll get the audience questions. I'll put them all together, and I'll have each of you guys come on to answer the questions from our listeners. How's that sound? Is that all right with you guys?
That sounds like fun. I don't mind answering questions.
That sounds like fun. I agree with Dave. And I'm sorry to interrupt, but the military part, my dad served in the military and my stepfather served in the military. I grew up in the military background, so I got to kind of watch what I say and do.
Me too. My dad was military and I was military. And I respect the military. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. So, guys, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to compile the questions that we're going to gather tonight from the 70 or so people that have joined the show, and we're typing, and some of them have asked questions. Probably some of them have just made comments. But I'm going to go to our audience. I'm going to try to get them to gather 10 to 20 questions, and I'll have each of you guys come on a separate program, and we'll do it that way because I like to delve into it more with you guys because it was kind of haphazard and a little bit random here, more than I thought it would be. So let's be more organized and have each of you guys come on separate, and I'll give you guys a full show, and we'll delve into it a lot more deeply with each of you. Okay? We'll do that.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Sounds good, Dave.
Okay, you guys were tremendous.
Thank you, Dave.
No, thank you very much for being on, and we'll get back to you guys in the near future. Thanks so much, guys.
Okay, bye.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Dave.
Okay,
Bye.
take care. Bye-bye. All right, guys, so that's it for tonight. And like I said, this got pretty intense, and it got pretty haphazard and random for me to just listen to both conversations and ask questions. It was a little tougher than I thought it would be. So I think we can regroup. I'm going to get to every single person here that's been on chat in the next few days, and I'll ask you guys, having listened to both of these guests, if you can come up with some questions for them. So that's what we'll do. I'll work on your questions, and we'll gather them together, and then we'll bring both of these guys on. Now, I do have guests coming up for the next month, so I'll have to have them on in like 5 or 6 weeks. But let's do that. Let's have Dave come on. We'll have Raven come on. We'll have shows specifically with both of them, and we'll ask your questions that you guys put together, and we'll ask them. So we'll make it very interactive, because it's hard to do it this way, and I want you guys to get more involved. So I'm going to pick your brains, and we're going to have your brains into these guests, and we'll work it that way. I think that might be an interesting way of doing a show or a couple of shows. So that's it for tonight, guys. Thanks for bearing with me, because we had some communication issues there at one point, but I think it went pretty well. But I think we need to understand these guys a little bit more, as well as some of the other guests I've got coming on. We're going to have some really good guests coming on in the near future. So keep joining the show, share the show, start calling in, and let's have some fun with this. All right, guys? Thanks so much for tonight, and I will see you guys on Thursday. Okay? Ciao.